And now for a cultural call-out. We sure don't appreciate that.
Today's cultural complaint is the idea of turning off your religion. And I know that might sound a little weird, but let me preface and build it up with a story. So when I was a missionary, one of the first wards that I served in, the bishop approached us and he told us the story about some elders that had been there a couple transfers before us. He said, all right, he said, one Sunday, church was happening, the services were there, everyone was ready to go, but the missionaries weren't there. And he was like, what's going on? I don't know. He was worried. He's like, did something happen to them? So he talks to one of the priests and he's like, hey, can you go check on the elders and make sure they're okay? So the priests run over to the missionary's apartment. He knocks on the door. There's nothing. He peeks inside the window and he sees four elders playing Xbox. And he starts yelling at them through the window. He's like, hey, guys, what are you doing? And one of them comes to the door and he's just like, oh, hey, how you doing, man? He was like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, church is starting right now. And the elder was like, oh, didn't you know it's my birthday? And gave the air of having like understanding of like, oh, everyone knows that you don't go to church on your birthday. That's just ridiculous. Of course. And you know that elder didn't just adopt that mentality on his mission. That was something that he was probably raised with. And so I think this is a natural outgrowth of the church. I've seen it. I mean, personally, I've seen this. I've seen it with other people where they go on vacation, they go on holiday, and before that, they're telling their kids, hey, every single day you need to be taking care of yourself spiritually, reading your scriptures, saying your prayers, connecting with Heavenly Father, meditating, things like that. And then when they go on vacation, they're like, nope, toss it out the window. Not on vacation, not on birthdays, not on special occasions. It doesn't matter. And so,
well, you didn't get your 2 get out of church free cards when you renew your temple recommend. I swear everyone gets a couple of those at least, every other year.
I guess I must have lost mine or something like that. Maybe in the wash, they just kind of ran out. But
no, I totally agree with like the idea that's gross that when people go on vacation, they're going on vacation from their religion. Now, I am among the people that like going and trying to find another ward when you're out of state or when you're traveling, not my cup of tea. So I might be falling into that group a little bit. But what we would try to do is like have like a moment as a family together, our own little church meeting, as you will, together on that Sunday and like, keep practicing our religion, which is a novel idea, right? But there are a lot of people who take vacation from their problems, right? And from their religion. And they just go and say, we're just going to party. And what kind of message, like you said, does that teach your children when you do that? It's like, oh, this is something that you can take off, right?
Right. It's almost like, it's like airplane mode on a phone. It's like you have religion mode. It's just like, oh, we're going to switch that off when we're on vacation. And what you're teaching your children, and I feel like this is something that the previous generation kind of showed us. They're scratching their heads. They're wondering why their kids, the millennials, are leaving en masse. And it's because we were able to see the performative contradiction of someone that was saying, like, these are things you need to do every day. And then going on vacation, going on holiday, going in and just kind of doing little things like that. It's just these little erosions where they're able to see, like, wait a second. So is it not like an everyday thing? Does God not exist on vacation? Does God not exist on birthdays and stuff like that? Or
does he come with you to Disneyland? How does that work?
Yeah, how is this all shaken down, And it's like, I'm not trying to come off as like a super orthodox letter of the law kind of guy here, but I am trying to point out the idea of saying one thing and then doing another thing. And then the kind of mental gap that will leave in the mind of a child. And it's kind of hard to reconcile that, especially, one of the most important things for millennials is authenticity. The idea of just practicing your religion when you're at home, when you're in your community, when other people can see you, that comes off as very inauthentic if you then turn it off wherever else you go. Because your religion is a lifestyle. It shouldn't just be something that you can turn on and off at a whim.
Oh, yeah. And like at the very least, you can be honest with your children and explain the situation. Like, yeah, we should be going to church, but it's really kind of hard to find a ward in Anaheim, and tickets were expensive. So like you can be honest and like share a little bit of your shortcomings with them if that's the case, and just help reinforce the idea that this is what we should be doing, even if we're not attaining that at that time. 100%. That'd be way better than what I grew up with, where it's like, oh, we're on vacation. it's gone. Like we clocked out hard.
It's done.
You know,
Yeah, like we just did not do anything, didn't go to church, didn't say prayers, didn't do any of that. And it left me with some questions. You know, it made me realize, like, wait a second, do they actually believe what they're saying? Or is this just a social club at that point? Because a social club is something that you leave and then you're going to go back to. You know, it's something that's fixed on a location. A religion goes with you no matter where you go.
Yeah, I really don't like that. And I can't believe he was playing Xbox. That's wild. There was a mission. We had a whole zone just kind of flushed out before us. And I was part of the replacement group. We just had an entire zone replace another. Yeah. We found out that the missionaries there, this goes right along with what we're talking about. They would plan out a meeting where they get together and they'd use their priesthood to release each other from their missions temporarily, go and do all sorts of terrible things, and then come back and reinstate their missions using, with these bogus blessings that they're giving each other. It's like, that's really clocking out. Like that's legitimate.
Okay, yeah, that's not clocking out. That's just apostasy. That's just 100% just apostate behavior. That's just like
it's so apostasy. Bad. It was absolutely terrible. And once the mission, president found out, he rightly just had to like wipe out the whole zone. It's like, you guys all gotta go. In that terrible action, there's that seed or that belief that like, hey, I can step away from this if I need to, right? I can pause my commitment or something like that. So, yeah, I really hate that about the culture. It really bothers me.
It's got some negative ramifications that are really ugly, because I think at a certain point, if a child is raised like that, and they're raised to view that religion is something that you can turn off, you can turn on at certain times, and it's just you only turn it on when other people are watching, then when they are older, they might just say, well, forget it. I'll just move out of town and then I don't have to worry about this anymore. And then I don't have to go to church. I'll just always just have this button off, and it creates like this dual persona and stuff like that. It's just weird. It's just like, just live your religion, let it be an actual religion instead of just a club. And
it really bothers people, especially kids, because it doesn't make sense. They don't understand it, and you never get an explanation from that. I feel like boomers are a little bit to blame on that one. I feel like that's a boomer kind of thing.
Well, we don't want to put blame here, but if there were some fingers to be pointed, you're saying maybe they would be pointed in the boomers' direction.
Maybe we could start pointing there. How about we got to start somewhere. Let's just.
They have some splaining to do.
Yeah. They can. I'm sure they can do a great job of telling us how it's our fault, actually. So let's start there.
Yeah. Okay. So for that reason, we're calling out the culture and saying, all right, let's do better. Elder Bednar has said, if you're doing what your parents did, you're not going to make it. Like, you have to do better. You have to do better than what your parents did. Intentional, conscientious worship looks like not turning off your worship when you're on holidays and special occasions. So, well,
and to that final wrap-up point on that is that everyone who was raised with that vacation mode built into their religion, they went into that vacation mode during COVID, and most of them never came out.
100%. Oh yeah, we call them COVID casualties. There were so many members that just got, and this is verbatim what they would say, is just, we got really comfortable with our routines and stuff like that. I think a lot of, it's kind of funny. I feel like there's a big part of them that thought that if they didn't go to church on Sunday, that they would get literally like struck by lightning, or that some horrible crippling illness would befall them or something like that. And when they realized that didn't happen, they were like, okay, well, why don't I just do this all the time? What am I making these sacrifices for? And and so a lot of them said, like, I was in the Elders Corps, they were telling me like, I just got really comfortable with our routines, and maybe we'll be back in a little bit, but for now, we're really comfortable with where we're at, and it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and once they weren't publicly shamed for missing or for being gone for long periods of times, they decided to sit in it. Just like, we're not coming back. So,
right. But I mean, a lot of times there isn't any public shaming that's going on, as much as they perceive that there is public shaming. So it's like their perception that people are judging them hardcore because they're not attending their meetings or anything like that. It's like, a lot of times that's a false perception. A lot of times people have a lot more on their plates to focus on, rather than like, is this person going to church or not, and things like that,
Oh, 100%. And I think that, the mantra that I've come to live by is nobody knows what they're doing and nobody cares. If you live by those 2 points, you'll find out that like life is a lot easier and you can focus more on you and actually figuring out what you believe in and how to stand by it. Because there's a lot of perceived shame in the church that's not actually there. And there are some people out there who enjoy shaming other people. Like that happens.
There is some
all the
genuine
time.
shame. Absolutely. 100%. There are people out there that will shame you, but in my experience, it's way less than what people say. Like, I think more times than not, people are more loving and excited to see you come to church. The people, and this is coming from like 30 years of being in the church, 30 plus years being active in the church. More times than not, yeah, there are occasionally a handful of people that are like all on your case and stuff like that. But in my experience, people actually care about seeing you there. And if you're not there, they're not judging you. When you do come back, they're happy to receive you back. So for that reason, we complain about the church culture. So church culture, shape up. All right.
Yeah, be better.
Come on, church culture. Let's do this. Now,